Today I thought I would paint something which would be interesting to people who've already learnt a lot and also be really helpful for people who've never picked up a brush before. So I'm sorry if I'm going to bore some of you by talking about materials initially, but you can always scoot forward to where I start painting if you're not interested in this bit. But I'm going to do it as quickly and as efficiently as I can. Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. Okay, so today I'm going to paint a sort of a relaxing introduction to painting using different techniques, which I hope will turn out quite attractive, and you might even feel like you want to frame it. So, or if you don't want to frame it, cut it up and make it into bookmarks or a card. So that's the thing with painting watercolours. You can always use them for something. So first of all, I'll talk about what I'm going to use. I have become quite a fan of Kuretake painting materials recently. And so today I'm going to be using their graphite colours, which are sludgy, muddy kind of colours that come out quite muted, or if you put them on thick, they come out really sludgy, but they granulate nicely. So I'm going to use a little bit of that in this painting, probably only one of these colours. So they look a bit like this when they're painted out. Hang on a second. I've just done a bit of an experiment here. These colours here, this is the 6 colours in the set. And I've just put some sort of copper colour on top of that because that's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to use my Kuretake set of 48 colours here, which are somewhere between watercolour and gouache, which means that they're slightly opaque, slightly heavier than the fine watercolours. And that's ideal for this kind of painting where you want the colour to be strong. So that's what we're going to be using there. I'll put those aside for a minute. And then also we're going to be using these golds and silvers. This is Fine Tech. I'll put all of the names of all of these, the links in the description below the video, and also in my Amazon shop. If you just go to amazon.com/shop/Diane Antone Studio, you'll find all of these things listed there. These are nice. You need to wet them in advance, which I have done. And I found myself a little pipette here, which I use to drop the water on before I actually start painting. It softens up the top of them a little bit so that you can actually pick up some paint, which of course is useful. So pop those over there for a minute while we talk about the brushes. Because this is going to be a full A4 size, so 20 by 30 centimetres, I don't know, 11 by 12, no, 8 by 11 or something like that, inches. We might need a fairly big brush to start with. You could use anything. I've got some Zen faux squirrel brushes here, the synthetic flats. This is a square flat. This is a cat's tongue. These would be great for applying the paint for this particular painting. Or you could use a hake like this if you really wanted to go big. This is a large round. It's a very long-handled round. You don't have to have a long-handled one. Something like this would work as well. Anything, really. And then when we get into the details, we'll want a smaller round. So I've got here an 8 and a 5, which I'll use probably for applying the gold and silver if I use silver. Also useful would be silver, white, maybe black as well. Pens, these are just fine liners, these are gel pens. My gold has run out. I need to get another gold, so I might have to use bronze instead, or copper, whatever they call that. But whatever you have to hand. I like these gel pens, they're really quite good. Then for paper, I'm going to use a block. It says pad, but it's not. They've changed it now. They made a mistake. It's not a pad, it's a block because it's glued all the way around. And because it's glued all the way around, except for one small spot where you can get a knife in to separate it. There we are. You can separate it by running a knife in there, something like this. You pop that in there and slide it round to cut the glue, but you don't do that till you're finished. Because it's glued all the way around, it doesn't cockle, it won't bend and warp while you're painting on it. So it's ideal for something like this, which is going to be a painting which is going to take up the whole space. If you want to, you can put tape around the outside edge to give you a white edge, but I'm not going to bother with that at the moment. I've got some salt there, I might use some of that. So then what we have to do is choose our colours. And I'm probably going to, well, I'm tossing up between browns and sort of warm colours and blues, that is to say kind of cool colours. It's winter, so you tend to be drawn towards the blues, but at the same time, sometimes it's nice to go for something warm when it's cool, if you see what I mean. And then, of course, we have our friends in Australia, the Southern Hemisphere, where it isn't winter. So should think about that too. I'm sort of leaning towards the browns, so I think I'll do that. And so what we have to do is we have to then select some colours that we think are going to work for this, and we're going to want, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4 brown shades. So first of all, let's have this brown out of here. This is the one which is going to be a good granulator. So put that there. And then I'm going to want some black because I do. And then we'll want a nice burnt sienna colour. So this one, I'm looking at the swatch here because obviously you can't really tell what colour is going to be until it's swatched. So it's better to look here. We want, I think, probably a beige, creamy, I think this is natural beige. I think that will probably go. And you can see as you put them together, you're getting something that kind of works. And then we want another brown, probably raw umber, this one here, I think. Okay, so we'll have that one. So that's our 5 colours for this painting. If we wanted to do it in blue, you would choose a completely different set. You could, let me see, these look good together, so I would probably be inclined to go for that one. That one. This one, you can't really see that it's a nice sea green, so I think those 3 would work. And then you want one that's really light, so something like, maybe this one, light and opaque-ish. Maybe that's not quite right, perhaps. I don't know, no, I think that probably would work. I'll stick it down that end. And then you would go for your grey from here. Okay, so that would be your selection. Sorry, that would be your selection if you were going to do it in blue. This would be your selection if you were going to do it in browns. I hope that makes sense. So, I'm going to do this one in browns. I'll take that out of the way. And I've got my golds and everything there. I've got my paper here. Just move that up a little bit, I think. So here we go. I've got my paints here in a sort of palette arrangement just to keep them in place. And I'm going to do this more or less randomly, and I'm going to do horizontal stripes, horizontal lines, just gently picking up the paint with I'm using the cat's tongue brush here. And it doesn't matter how thick or how thin it is really, because this is just an experiment. We're learning how to paint, learning how paints work when you put them on paper. So we'll start with that colour, and then I think I'll drop down here to the burnt sienna, and I'm going to just add a line of that, quite wet, just one line gently across like that, and see how where the two wet lines of paint meet, you get this lovely little forest of lines growing up like that, which is really quite nice. So then I'm going to take some, excuse me while I cough, some really dark colour, and I'm going to bring that along and touch it in some places and leave some spaces. So we get a wobbly line, but I didn't notice, I didn't wash my brush out. So we've got a little bit, I didn't do that on purpose, we've got a little bit of brown mixed in with that dark colour. And now I'm going to pick up some water and just run water across here like this. And as I'm pressing down, we're getting what you call a dry brush effect, where there isn't a lot of water, so we get a kind of beaded kind of thing going on. That's something that you use a lot if you want to have light reflecting off of water or something shiny. So that's an effect that you might want to cultivate and practice. Now I've picked up some of the Kuretake graphite colour, and you see how that granulates. You've got these, how do you describe that, sort of irregular, where the pigment falls into the dips in the paper, and that's what granulation is. And now I think I'll go back to the burnt sienna and leave another gap, come across here like that. And then I'm going to put some darker brown into that. And now I'm going to go back to the beige, take that quite thickly. Then I'm going to wet that as well and let that run. All of these things that I'm doing, you can vary, anything you can think of doing, just do it. More water, and you can see the colour pulling down into the water. So this section here is going to be wet in wet, because I've wetted the paper. I've wetted it with a very, very light coloured wash. And then let's use some of this one. I don't think we've used much of that. We'll take that and go across. There may be some wonderful forest of colour. And you can, if you want to, you can drop, let's just wash the brush a bit, and you can drop water in to an area like this. Doesn't matter whether you've got any paint or none, just drop that into the paint and let it move around, and you'll get some interesting backgrounds and things like that. And then let's go for this one again. And whether or not you are a new painter or you've painted for years, you can always get something out of an exercise like this. It's perfect relaxation, perfect warm-up. We're going to do another painting, something a bit more precise. Do something like this first. Break the ice kind of thing. So there we are. We've come all the way across now, and you might want to go back and pick up some really dark and just do some lovely thick dark lines in one or two places. This was the black. And you can see how much the whole thing has moved, all of its own, on its own. So now the next thing we have to do is just to wait for it to dry, and then we can come in with our embellishments and go over the top and see what we can make of that. That's where you really get creative. Okay, so this is dry now, and this is where you have to try to, resist the temptation to try to plan. So I'm going to start putting some gold on top of here to kind of bring out something. We'll see what happens, but it's very difficult to know where it's going to go at this point, so don't try to plan it. Would be my advice, and just do whatever comes to mind, really. So I'm just using a size 5 brush, and I've picked up some gold. This is, like I said, the fine tech colour, and it's very good. It's nice and opaque, and you can go over pretty much anything. This is going over black, and I'm just putting in a row of single stroke ovals, all of which is very good practice for brush control and so on and so forth. And I think I might put in, using a slightly lighter gold, next one along in the row, put in a line underneath there. And what next? Yeah, maybe I'll do a darker gold line here. You can hear somebody clattering around. It's the dog. So really now we're practicing stroke control, water control. You'll learn how to judge how much water you need. With these gold paints, you don't need very much. You need to make them fairly thick, otherwise you lose the effect. So I'm just coming across now, going sideways ovals, like those, but going the other way. I'm thinking about these basically runs that I've got on the top here. I'm wondering what to do about those. I'm sort of thinking they look a bit like trees, and I don't know whether I can make this white pen work. No, that one doesn't want to work. I must have a sort out. Get rid of the white pens that have run out. Okay, let's see. We just... Some people will know or remember that we did something similar to this a little while ago, which people quite enjoyed doing. So I'm just going to put a row of trees, outline them here along the top to go into these blobs which happened. The white pen this is a gel pen. It's, what's it called? Uniball Signo white gel pen. And it is better to use when you don't press too hard. If you find it doesn't work, try not pressing quite so hard, and you might get a better effect. And the other thing is, it doesn't work very well on damp paper, so sometimes you have to be patient or else get your hairdryer out. Now I'm just going to put some leaves on the trees, but they're not really leaves, they're just little dabs. And it's just an excuse really for using gold paint. This one wants to be a bit silvery. Just do whatever you feel like. Remember, always I'm working to a time limit really. I don't want the video to be too long. So I tend to go fairly quickly, but you can take your time. There's no real rules about whether or not you should paint fast or slow. It's entirely up to you and your personality. I suggest you don't try to compare yourself to anyone else. It's not worth it, is it? You could do some spatter if you wanted to here, for example. So that's when you use a little bit more water and just pick up some paint, and you can cover over the bit that you don't want to go on top of, if you like. You don't have to, because you might want to spatter there too, but if you do cover it up, that's probably sensible. Plenty of water. Any brush will do. I sometimes use a toothbrush, sometimes just use whichever one I have in my hand, and just tap the top of it like that. Or you can go like that, however your hand works. Okie doke. I'm going to leave that white line there because I think that's probably quite a good idea. And let me see, what should we do here? Let's do a curly line, shall we? And I think I'm going to do some nice big circles in this section. So first of all, put these circles in. So I'm using quite a lot more water because I want these to sort of flow a bit. I often don't bother to wash my brush out in between strokes. I just go and pick up the next thing, because that way you get more variety. But if you prefer, of course, you can clean your brush, but this also is more economical. Okay, so when these are dry, I'll come in with a pen, I think, or some other paint, and do a bit of calligraphy on top of those circles. I think this one wants to be more golden. Okie dokie. Well, it's probably time for some more horizontal lines here. Okay, let's see, shall we come down the bottom? What should we do next? How about some blobs at the bottom here? Making these sort of various different shades of golden and pearly, starry colours, whatever. And am I dry at the top now? Yes, that looks like that's pretty much dry. And oh, I don't know. How about some vertical lines like that? Oh, I know. After I've done this row, I'm going to do some leaf shapes on here. Because it's kind of practice, just practice for brush control, stroke control, seeing what your brushes can do, and seeing what your hand can do, what you like to do. You will find that you will have particular strokes that you like to make when you learn to paint. Like for example, if you want to draw a circle, I always go clockwise, and I discovered the other day that if I broke the habit and tried to go anti-clockwise, that I could actually get a better effect, a more regular circle. So sometimes, you have to try to change things a bit, but you will find you have habits and things that you like to do, strokes you like to make. That's what gives you your style. The style is you. That's why sometimes we don't really like our own style, because we see ourselves reflected in what we're doing. But that's where the courage comes in, the courage that you need to call yourself a creative person, I suppose. What was I going to do? Leaves. Yes, I was going to do leaves here. So just press down and lift up. It's quite light there, so I'll do them in the darkest shade of gold. You can mix other colours into these golds if you want to. You could do that. I don't think I will, but you could. So if you do an abstract like this, I think, if you can call it an abstract, I'm not sure if it is, but if you do a painting like this, it's probably best to have one row where the design is big, like these leaves, which are quite large, and then the others kind of more or less subsidiary, or at the most 2 dominant rows, and you might find that that's optically more pleasing. There goes Gabriel again, the cockerel, not the angel. Okay, so that's that. And I don't know whether I like these white lines that I put here, so I'm going to go over that with gold. And I'm not going to use white on this one. So we'll just go over that with gold. In fact, I'm not entirely sure I like the dots either, so I think I'm just going to make them round like that. That's better. It happens that you change your mind. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's fine. I think we might want another thin line coming across here, perhaps. Maybe. Maybe not. Anyway, that's what we've got. Okay, so I think that's enough brushwork. Maybe we'll just do a little bit of copper pen, maybe. These pens and the paints are a good complement to one another. They work well together. And I think up here I'm going to do some spirals because no embellished painting is complete without some nice spirals. Yeah, maybe a few stars down here. Okay, and because these are leaves, we can put some veins in them. And there's other things you can do too if you want to. You can keep going. I mean, you could go around the outside edge of these leaves, give them a bit more form. Oh yes, I did say I was going to finish these off, didn't I? So I think they're dry now, so we'll just do this. Some of these embellishments, which are quite fun to do. And you can go round, you could go round these circles as well. wanted to. Yeah, well, I think I'm coming to the end of my desire to work on this now. Next thing to do is to take it off of the block and find a mount so that we can have a look at it as if it was going to be framed, should you wish to do anything like that. So we'll just slide the paper cutter in there, take that off. So there we are, that's finished, and I hope you enjoyed that. Easy to do, lots to learn, and lots of fun to be had in using your gold paints to their full splendour. Just to mention, we are working on our Patreon offerings at the moment, and we're going to be putting up all of our whole entire catalogue of videos, which is now over 600, all ad-free for you if you're one of the higher tier members on Patreon. And by the end of this week, we should have all of January 2022 up there for you to watch with no adverts intervening. So everything will be staying exactly the same here as well on YouTube. So for those of you who don't want to join Patreon, you don't need to. Everything will still remain here. But if you want to watch ad-free and to get the various other perks that we have on offer over there on Patreon, do feel free to pop on over and get your 10% discount if you become an annual member. So I'll let you go on that commercial note, and I will see you again soon. So have fun painting. Bye everybody. Bye-bye.